Again, thank you for having me. I'm Jeannette with CRMLS, and if you have any questions about any of the rules or data integrity, I'd like you all to ask those as well. Got about 20 minutes, so I'm going to rush through the changes and some information for you first. One of the first things that I wanted to cover is all of the coverage now of CRMLS. We have grown over the last year, as well as you all are aware of. Maybe you're not. We had 2 mergers over the last year, the Cal-Red merger in August 2010, where MRMLS then became CRMLS. And then we also, in January 2011, we merged with Southland Regional Association of Realtors, so CRISNet is now part of CRMLS. Burbank Association of Realtors came on board in January 2011 as well. Desert Communities Association of Realtors came on in July of 2011. And we had the largest merger to date, which was September 2011, was where CRMLS and SoCalMLS have now become one and are now CRMLS. So, and that was just this last September. What that means to you is there's 70,000 real estate members now that are part of CRMLS and 33 realtor associations. And when it comes to rules, that matters to you. Because you know, with all these associations, and as you see on the map, all the blue areas on the map, agents that list within any of those areas in the state of California are all following the same rules that you're following, and following the same data integrity standards that you're following, and their associations are enforcing rules and fines for lack of data integrity. And one of the things I like to point out right away, it's going to be kind of small for you all to see, so I'll read it to you. But we are going to go over the new changes. But how many of you are aware of data integrity and the MLS rules? Show of hands. Not very many. Okay. That's okay. That's why I'm here to help you. Data integrity and rules. Why do they matter to you in this industry in the MLS? If you're not sure, how many of you have gone out to a property to show a property, and that lockbox on the property is not a super accessible lockbox for you, and there's no information on the listing that tells you how to access the property to show your buyer? Or how many of you have looked at a listing and saw that it's in the wrong market area, it's advertised incorrectly, they put something in property description that should not be in property description? Those are all violations of the MLS data integrity standards. We expect our members, as well as the associations of the MLS, to help us monitor data integrity. It's your business that gets most affected when data integrity is inaccurate or fraudulent. Okay? Your clients and yourself are at a disadvantage when that data is not accurate or correct. So when it comes to rules and regulations, they're not there just to slap people on the wrist. They're there because this is your data. Your most important aspect of your business, and for appraisers, is the integrity of the data. If you're looking to run comps for a listing that you're going to be working on with a client, if the information in the MLS is inaccurate or incorrect, something's not in a pending position when it should be, or it's not closed properly like it should have been with the correct selling price, that affects what you give to your clients. So that's why data integrity is so important in the MLS database. And I'm going to keep reinforcing that with you. Again, when it comes to data integrity, are there fines and violations? Yes, there are. Yes. There can be fines. Good. Yes. More. Are we out as the MLS or as your association? Are we out policing all of the properties and everything in the MLS database? No, we're not. We don't know if your contracts have gone from active to pending to backup. We don't know that you're inaccurately presenting the property with regards to square footage. I mean, we're looking at tax records. However, you could be saying something different, and we're not out policing that information. We're relying on you to give the correct, accurate information for other members to see. If it's inaccurate, you all know you can report a violation. Do you guys know that? Yes. And you are held anonymous. No one knows who you are when you report a violation. And again, it's not about reporting violations to get anybody into trouble or to collect money for the MLS. The MLS, just so you know, does not collect any money for violation fines. It's your association that gains that revenue for violations. It's your association that's the ultimate determiner if a rule or if a violation has been committed. So even if you get a violation from the MLS, if you disagree with it, contact your association. Okay? It may not be a violation. Someone may think it was, so they reported it. The MLS is just the conduit for that information to be sent to you. If you disagree with it, you contact your association, you let them know what your disagreement is, and they'll help you determine whether it's a violation or not. Okay? Two of the changes that came about November 1st with regards to data integrity standards. That's the first one up on the list. Appendix A of the data integrity standards is the fining schedule and all about violations and what happens to you with a violation. Okay? What occurred with those sections that are referenced there, 13.1, 13.2, 13.9, and 13.10, and also 14.3 of the MLS rules and regs, what occurred is when agents share their access key, okay, your active key that opens up the super boxes, that's a security risk when you hand that over to any individual to access a property. Okay, that's a security risk not only to your seller, but to your broker and everybody else involved. If something were to occur at that property with that individual using that access key, and who's ultimately responsible for that? If it's your key, it's you. So that was recognized, and there's been a hefty fine that's been added to the data integrity standards with regards to sharing of access keys. I don't know if you agree or not, but
really?
That's okay, good.
More.
Because worst case scenario, those access keys, unfortunately, sometimes are given to clients as well. And that is really bad on our part as agents. And yes, it does happen. So the fine, according to the way the rule is written now in the data integrity standards, the fine is at the maximum allowable by NAR. We've been saying $2,500, but actually the maximum allowable at NAR is $15,000 currently.
Yes.
Okay. Again, is your association or the MLS going to know if you're sharing that key? No, we are not. However, other members do know that you are. They either see someone there accessing a property with a key that's not theirs. They know that somebody's sharing a key. The access keys, everyone, so you know, should have their own access key. We are about security, and we're not about trying to just penalize and fine. It's all about security for that listing agent, for that seller, and everyone else involved in that transaction. Make sense?
Can I make a comment on that?
Yes.
Super right now is developing a program where they will monitor the key usage. And if you normally have a key that you use once a week or twice a week, but all of a sudden they see a key being used 30 or 40 times, they will know that that key is being shared with others. And they will cut you off. They will censure your broker.
You're putting a lot of people at risk, even Supra. Yes?
There are times that I will use it once or twice a week, and then I start using it a lot more. Do we call them and let them know?
No. It's not that imperative. The question was, I do use the key once or twice a week and then a lot more at a different time. And do I need to call Supra? No, it's not necessary.
Excuse me, let her finish her presentation and then you can present all your questions up here in the mic, okay? Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next one, CARET's standardized rules and regulations. The second one on the list, they added a property type to section 13.6. How many of you know what section 13.6 is? I knew nobody would. That wasn't really a test. Oh, Lorraine knew. Okay. Section 13.6 of the rules and regs is the required electronic lockbox. How many of you know about that? Not very many. Okay, we're going to reiterate. All properties listed in the MLS, and according to your contracts as well, unless your seller has agreed not to have a lockbox, on the property. All properties listed in the MLS need to have an electronic, carrots accessible lockbox. Okay, if you're going to list a property and you're going to put a combo box on it, you're in violation of section 13.6. Even if you put that combo in agent remarks. What 13.6 states is if you list a property in the MLS database, your seller has agreed to have a lockbox on the property, you're required to have your association's electronic lockbox, which is Supra, on that property. If you want to put a combo lockbox in addition to that for agents that come from out of the area that may not have a super key that can access that property, that is okay. You can have as many on there as you want, but your minimum requirement is your electronic lockbox of your association, which yours is a Supra box, okay? That's on all property types. Well, it's on residential, residential income, and mobile home property types now. It's not required on vacant land and commercial, okay? But on residential, residential income, and now mobile homes. And I know you don't have a lot of mobile homes out in this area, but it has now been added, and that's the change that's occurred. Also, the red writing below that, there was an additional change to it. What's happening, what we found in the REO market right now is what's happening are there banks that are kind of trying to, for lack of a better way to say this, dictate what goes into the MLS. So they're telling the agents what they want in the MLS database. So you all know the banks don't run the MLS database, okay? Good. Banks need to adhere to the MLS rules just like you as agents do. So if your bank is telling you, don't put it in the backup position or don't put it in pending, we want to leave the listing active, for example. If you have a signed contract from the legal owner, which is the seller, this wouldn't be an REO, this would be your short sale situation. So you've got a legally signed contract from that seller. In the MLS database, that listing needs to either go into backup or pending and not left active. Again, agents that are showing those properties are very frustrated when they get out to a property, their client likes it, and they find out there's 10 offers on it already, and they're going to be number 11. And only because the agent didn't change the status in the MLS database. If you're still accepting offers, put it on backup. If you're waiting for a short sale approval from the bank, put it on backup. Okay, that's just a contingency. That doesn't mean that the property is still active and available for everybody to write offers and you to keep continuing bringing in those offers. You can, but then put it in backup so that clients and agents have the option to choose. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay. When it comes to the lockboxes, what's happened in the REO market is, I think we're all familiar with agents that are listing REO listings, which is great. You know, I'm glad, and everybody's happy that they're there and available to do that work. It can be pretty costly to get an electronic lockbox on all of those properties. We understand that. However, according to the rules, you have 20 listings. All of those want a lockbox on the property. They all need a carrots accessible super lockbox on the property, not a combo pad. What started occurring is there were some agents that were getting so many listings that they're putting these little combo door pads on and thinking that's an electronic lockbox. We all know as realtors it's not. That's a combo door pad. Okay, that's not an electronic accessible lockbox by a carrots approved association. So what that means to you is if you are listing those properties as an REO agent to be in compliance, you should have a super lockbox on there. There are some stipulations to the rule where you wouldn't be in violation if you do have one of those combo pads, and I'm going to direct you to contact the association to get what those requirements are to be able to still list in the MLS and not have a super lockbox on there. Okay? Because there's a lot of them, and I just want to make sure they're familiar with them, and then you can ask if you need it. Make sense? Okay. Next. Number one violation in the MLS database for the last year and a half running now, if not longer. I'm showing the statistics for July, August, and September, is status. Listing status is the #1 violation. Those are those agents that are not managing the MLS database. I understand it gets kind of heated and you're in your transaction and you're trying to make sure everything's going on right in the transaction. It's your responsibility to communicate to your peers what's happening with your transaction as well. So your status changes are very important. Yes?
Okay, after the pending, after.
The pending?
Okay. Put a pending.
Okay, I'll address that because I know what the question's going to be. You're talking about auto sell and when you go into pending and backup, and we'll address that at the end. We will. So status changes are #1. Inaccuracy of data is #2. Okay, it's, you know, we have a lot of required fields that are required. Those fields are being completed inaccurately, as well as optional fields are being completed inaccurately. Just because a field is not required doesn't mean that you have to be accurate. Okay? All of the fields need to be accurate. And we're talking about square footage, bedrooms, bathrooms, whether it's square footage that's included in the tax records or not. It's up to you to disclose and list that property as accurately as you know, just like you're presenting it as a seller, on behalf of the seller, as you're representing it in your listing. Oops, sorry. #3, public remarks. What happens in public remarks is agents tend to try to use that as their selling factor for themselves. The MLS database is a cooperation of compensation and cooperation of accessibility, okay? It's not to promote yourself as an agent. You are there to promote your property. Public remarks ends up with things in it such as agents' names, agent phone numbers, because they're thinking, oh, this is going to go on Realtor.com. Maybe I can get clients to call me. That's misuse of the MLS database. You have agreements with all of your peers that you're not going to use it in that manner. The MLS database is to market the property itself and the community surrounding it, nothing else. If you have legal issues that you need to relay, such as short sale, that can go in public remarks. Anything that deals with it legally, but not anything that's emotional or anything that is not about the property itself. So you cannot even, it's also against the rules to promote open houses in public remarks. Okay, no open house information goes there, no phone numbers, no agents' names, no website addresses. If you want to promote any of that, it goes down in the private remarks for just other agents to see. #4 is photos. Actually, that's #2, pretty much. Photos. Agents don't get photos in the MLS database, or they get the wrong photos in there. Me personally, why wouldn't an agent put a photo of their listing in the MLS database? I totally do not understand that at all. The reason being, and I'm going to tell you why, you have 5 days to get at least one photo of your listing into the MLS database for all property types except for vacant land. Okay? 5 days. That's a lot of days. Do you realize within an hour of inputting your listing into the MLS database, it starts feeding out to all of those Carrots MLS databases? It starts going out to all of those other IDX feeds across the state, Realtor.com, LATimes.com, all of those automatic emails that agents have set up, starts feeding out to all of those. How many clients do you think are looking at a listing that doesn't have a photo? So you have 5 days to get it in there, yes. And will it eventually update all of those once you get a photo in? Yes. Does it start cutting off your marketability of your listing by waiting that 5 days? Yes, absolutely it does. I recommend to agents, the minute you input the listing, at least get that one photo in there. If you're not going to get all 35 or all 20, however many you're going to put in there, at least get that one photo. And what does that one photo have to be? If that's all you're going to have, it does need to be the exterior structure of the property, not the living room, not the view off the porch. It has to have the structure in it. Whether you're taking it from the back, the front, the side, the roof, that's irrelevant, but it does have to have the entire structure in it, exterior structure. Make sense? And then the other column is all the other stuff that doesn't fit in there. Okay, how to avoid violations and fines. Number one thing I'm going to recommend you do, confirm your email address is correct in Matrix Roster and on all your listings. Because are we or your association going to call you when you're in violation? No. We're going to email you. Should you be checking that email every day? Yes, because you have 2 business days to correct a violation before you could possibly go into a fine situation. 2 business days. So you want to pay attention and make sure that you're getting those warnings. Make sure that it's set up so it doesn't go to your junk mail or to your recycle bin. Make sure they come to your inbox. Because sometimes you're going to miss things that you don't mean to miss, but that's the best way for us to communicate. Number 2, know the rules. You can go to CRMLS.org, click on rules and policies. The data integrity standards and the rules and regs documents are both listed in there. You can pull them up, print them out, save them on your hard drive, whatever you need to do with them. Follow the data integrity standards for listing and input and modifying your listing. So the data integrity standards, I get asked all the time, what's the difference between the rules and regs and the data integrity standards? The data integrity standards are like your cliff notes to the rules for listing input. It's all of the things that relate to listing input, so you don't have to read through the big 47-page rules and regs to get it all gathered together. So look and follow your data integrity standards on listing input to make sure that you're getting all the correct information. Number 4, when in doubt, contact West San Gabriel Association of Realtors to help you out. If you're not sure how to list something, how to portray something, how to put something in to avoid a violation. Remember, data integrity is of the utmost concern to everyone. It's not, again, something just to put rules on anyone. It's because we all rely on this data for statistics, for comparables, for showing property correctly. And it's your business that gets affected if the data is not accurate. What do you do if you receive a violation? Make the corrections within 2 business days of the receipt of the violation. You get 3 violation courtesy warnings per calendar year. I can commit 3 violations and not get fined or penalized in any way in 1 calendar year period. If I commit a 4th, I'm going to go to a $250 fine, or I can pay $50 to my association and take a compliance or traffic school class in lieu of a fine, which isn't nice and fun like this one. It's 2 hours long. And you have to be there the entire time and take 2 quizzes. We have those online, by the way. So you have 3 warnings a year. If you get to that 4th warning, your violation goes to $250. If you get a 5th warning in a calendar year, you jump up to $500. And if you don't correct violations, it will keep increasing up to a maximum of $2,500. What happens when someone doesn't pay their fines? Your association keeps assessing the fine until they get to the max. If you still don't pay, they have the rules to suspend your access into the MLS database. Doesn't matter whether you have a active listing in there or not that you're managing, your broker's going to have access to it to be able to manage it. But you no longer can get in until you pay and resolve the fine that you have. And again, those fines aren't coming to the MLS, so the MLS isn't, we're the ones that have the rules, we're the ones that are sending you the violations if there is a violation, but your association will be collecting your fines. It's a revenue for your association. And again, it's not about slapping somebody on the wrist. I can't reiterate that enough. Failure to correct violations, like I said, will result in higher fines and possible suspension. This is your data for comparables and for your clients. Let's keep it, let's work together and keep it clean. That's our whole goal here, is to keep it clean and keep it accurate. Okay, we had a question on pending, right, and backup.
Okay, can listing agent remove the super box after before the pending?
You're required to put in your estimated close of escrow date?
No,
What?
taking the lockbox off.
To take the lockbox off?
After report a pending on the
Yes, after you pull the pending. If you still need access for termite and inspections and everything like that, I know agents will put 2 boxes on. They'll put one on the back that's strictly used by those individuals. It may be a combo box, but they're not advertising that combo in the MLS database. So yes, if you have a listing that goes pending, you can remove the lockbox. If you have a listing that's in backup position, you should leave the lockbox on there because you're still entertaining it as an active listing.
Please use the mic, please.
Hi, Carl Feldstein.
Hi.
You did a real coup to be able to establish the California multiple listing service. It's unbelievable, just a year's period of time, right?
In a year.
The question is, I looked at the map that you showed. I didn't see San Francisco. I didn't see Lake Arrowhead. How many associations haven't participated, and what's the status there?
Okay, all part of Carrots. We are, let me see if I can get back in to the map. When I say Carrots, CRMLS is part of a larger group as well. So not only is CRMLS 70,000 members strong, but we're also part of Carrots, which also takes on more counties in the state of California, which actually totals up to 103,000 agents and 45 associations. I think there's 110 associations in the state of California. So CRMLS has about a third of those. Okay, and Carrots has almost 50% of those. Lake Arrowhead, Crestline, Big Bear, Victorville, they're what we call closed MLSs, closed associations. They don't reciprocate with other associations or MLSs. They don't share data. If you get a listing up in their area, they want you to join for 1 full year and pay their dues for a year to add your listing into their database. We're always ongoing with negotiations and approaching future MLSs and future associations. What we're finding, and I do this search all the time, I look in Matrix for listings for Victorville, and I look in Victorville's database, and I've done it for Lake Arrowhead, Big Bear, and Crestline as well. And still, continuously, we have more data in our database than they have in their own. Do we have everything they have? Probably not. Do we have more than they have? Yes, we do. Because what ends up happening is members get frustrated with the politics of not being able to expose their listings to the entire group as opposed to keeping it narrowed down to just their area. And they have since come down and started joining associations that are part of CRMLS or part of Carrots. The ongoing negotiations for San Francisco, I mean, it's not San Francisco, but we do have Mercado that agents can get into and search areas in other areas that are part of CRMLS. However, I am going to give you guys a hint of advice. Mercado is soon to be a pay-for-play product available to members. Right now it's still currently free, but with all the data that Matrix and CRMLS has, it's really not a beneficial product to offer to all members of CRMLS because we have most of the data anyway. So in answer to your question, we're always ongoing with negotiations, and there's things that I can't discuss and talk about, but I can let you know there's a lot of interest.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Good morning. Thank you for the information. I know that it's up to $15,000 based on NAR, a violation. Is there a violation for inputting a listing in the MLS and you don't have a valid listing?
Yes,
And what is the violation on that one? Because I find that quite often.
that would be in the standardized rules and regs. I can't remember the section number right off the top of my head. Do you know, Sharon? Okay. I can get you the section number before I go, but the fine for that is it would go within the 3 warnings and also go to the 250 and then on up to the 2,500 max. There is a violation for inputting the listing into the MLS database without having an active contract, valid contract.
My second question has to do with, it's very easy just to click on the, do you suspect that there is a notice of violation? I clicked it in there, I put my name, because and I put the reasons why I believe that is a violation. But how do you do on a lockbox, on the misuse of a lockbox? Is there a form? Is there a
No,
place?
you could do it the same way. On misuse of a lockbox or the access key, you could report it with the link. If you know what property it goes to. If you're not sure what property it goes to, you can go direct to our website at crmls.org, click on support, and there's a link there to report a violation as well, if you're not sure what listing it's on.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I'm over here.
Oh, hi.
If I understand that CRMLS controls the fines, or the violations, and
Yeah.
the boards control the fines.
Correct.
Okay, so you report a violation to the board, the member does not pay the fine, and says, I'm going to join I'm going to go over and switch to another member of CRMLS. Is there some way that you notify,
Yes.
is there any notification of the
Absolutely.
violations to the other association?
Absolutely, and that's a very good
How do you
question.
do
I'm
that?
glad you brought that up, because agents will not want to pay their fines and think that they can jump from one association to the other. And yes, we do. We have what's called a letter of good standing that every association has. And as a member leaves an association and goes to join another association, that association requests that letter of good standing. If that member doesn't have it, typically they're not allowed into that association. If you have it, it's listed on there if you have unpaid fines, and it's been put together with car legal involved as well and all the association executives. So it's a one-page form that a member needs to take with them if they're leaving one association going to another, for that association to accept them.
That also goes from state to state too.
Does it?
Yes, if you go to apply in another state, they ask for a letter from your association.
Good.
Because I've done that.
Good to know. Good to
Well,
know.
that's realtor membership though, but I'm talking about the
No.
MLS.
Yeah. Well, I don't, well, it belongs to a board. The board, they notify
Ours
the
is
board
for
and ask for
MLS
it.
access.
The board, they ask from your board a letter saying that you're in good standing from other states. Also, how about the signage? Some of the associations, you have to take your sign down within 1 day. Some of them, you can leave them up. Have you made that one unit, or is it still individual?
According to the rules and regs, I don't know that there's anything that specifically stipulates in the rules when a sign needs to come down.
Okay, because some associations say it has to be down within 2 days after an accepted offer. San Diego, you have to take your signs down right
Okay,
away.
they're not part of CARES or CR, so they have a different stipulation. And
So
typically our stance on things such as that, it's whatever agreement a member has with the seller.
Okay, so when you have a withdrawn listing, you don't have to take the sign down.
Well, withdrawn's not really that you don't have an active listing. Withdrawn just means that you're withdrawing it out of the MLS database, but you still have an active listing agreement, so the sign,
So there isn't an identified.
no.
Hello, hi, Sylvia from Mueller Realty. Regarding the electronics box available, if we put it on the MRMLS, if the owner does not want us to show it to have it available for anyone to walk in, if they want, let's say, the broker or the listing agent to go along with whomever is going to show it, do we have to have the Supra on?
It's all according to your contract. In your listing agreements, there's a checkbox there if your seller refuses a lockbox. If they refuse a lockbox, you don't have to have you're not required to have the lockbox if they want appointment only. But if they want a not accessible lockbox on the property, then yes, it has to be one of the super lockboxes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
On the REO property, the agent putting a lockbox, combo and electronic. After this property sold over a year later, the lockbox both, they still on the property.
That's a violation.
How you can pull out those lockbox from the property?
That's a security risk, and that's the association of the listing agent going after that listing agent and possibly contacting their broker to get the lockbox removed.
It's out of the area broker.
Out of the area broker?
Yeah.
And they left the lockbox on there?
Yes.
Then contact CRMLS and we'll help get in touch with whatever association or MLS that member belongs to.
Take the lockbox out.
I don't think you can take the lockbox off, can you?
Can we report it abandoned and swap it?
Jeannette, thank you for speaking with us. Rita, can I ask you that if there's a listing and then the agent reports sold, but most of the time we find some listing, it's the same listing agent as a dual agency sold the listing, but he put the public IDs out of area on the record on the MLS because when we submit the offer, they don't accept our offer outside the offers. So particular offers, certain listings, it's the same listing agent closed the deal, but when he report the sold listing, he put the public ID number, so we didn't find out who did it, but actually it's the same agent. How you are going to monitor?
Is he truly a member of CRMLS
Yes.
and
Right.
not out of area or
Yes,
territory?
and we know that the same agent represent both buyer and seller, but
It would be
if that
inaccuracy.
agent, reported he put out of area ID, and we saw a couple of them, how you guys going to keep track? Or we have to report to
It would
you?
be a reported violation, and what that would be is inaccuracy, fall
So
under
what
inaccuracy.
happened?
of
What happened
data.
with that agent? What kinds of penalty that he's going to face with?
They go through the fining, they go through the violation warnings and the fining as well. When it comes to inaccuracy of data, there's a lot of things that'll fall under a specific rule, but then there's other things that fall under the blanket of inaccuracy. Something like that would be considered inaccurate. So the reporting of the listing, closing of the listing with the inaccurate selling agent is inaccuracy. So that agent should be reported, and the association should go through the process of finding.
So you give them a couple warnings and then fine them, right?
They get 3 warnings a year in a calendar year.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
In her situation, mostly the agents steal your clients. That's how they report it, out of area agent. Even though they're in this area, okay? They steal your client, they show the house, but they tell you buy from us, you get a better price. Okay, that's how it. I think they should be penalized. They should not earn the commission.
If any of you, now, like what I'm saying, I agree with you. It's inaccuracy and it's fraudulent is what they're doing. It's misleading, and you guys shouldn't have to deal with that, especially if you need responsibility for something that they're taking responsibility for. But any reported violation is looked into. If there's any changes to the rules or any finding that you would like to see increase, CRMLS is part of a monthly group that get together with regards to it's a rules committee, and we go forth to the rules committee to ask for change. So your best way or best avenue to ask for any change